Halo pemirsa, hadir bersama saya, Sally Siregar. Kami akan memberikan update terkini mengenai peristiwa unik dan menarik yang kami rangkum dalam Kilas Mancanegara. Pemirsa, berbagai komunitas imigran di Amerika Serikat menunjukkan simpati mereka ke warga Ukraina dengan bantuan kemanusiaan dan penggalangan dana. Salah satunya dengan berjualan boneka pinata kemanusiaan yang dilakukan perempuan pengusaha asal Nicaragua di Los Angeles.
Warna-warni meriah langsung menyambut begitu menginjakan kaki di Amazing Piñatas. Boneka atau wadah karton aneka bentuk yang biasanya diisi permen ini merupakan tradisi khas dalam pesta warga Amerika Latin. Tapi, piñata di toko milik imigran Nicaragua ini bukan sekadar dekorasi, melainkan punya misi sosial.
Heavy emotions when I see that on the news and I see people living and staying in areas to protect themselves and their family. So it's just very sad to see that.
Itu mengingatkannya pada pengalamannya sendiri.
It strikes because I come from Nicaragua and we went through a terrible war in 1970s when I lost a lot of my friends, my childhood friends, relatives. Financially, we lost a lot.
Para pengrajin Amazing Piñatas kreatif dalam menyampaikan rasa solidaritas dan support untuk Ukraina sebisa mereka. Jose Sanchez misalnya, membuat bentuk hati dengan detil khusus. Istrinya, Luz Ibanez, membuat rangkaian mawar kertas dengan warna bendera Ukraina.
We are immigrants. We know how hard it is to be under attack. And we understand how they probably feels right now. So this is the main reason why we want to help.
Dukungan untuk perdamaian di kawasan itu tertuang di sosmed mereka.
The funds is bringing all the time. We have orders online. We have to send many orders out of California, which is really good.
Amazing Piñatas menyumbangkan 100% keuntungan dari penjualan piñata Ukraina ke Pusat Budaya Ukraina di Los Angeles yang lalu disalurkan ke Ukraina. Menurut Lorena, sebagai warga global, kita semua punya kewajiban sosial. Dari Los Angeles, California, VOA.
Terlepas perang Ukraina dan Rusia, dua musisi dari dua tersebut menjalin persahabatan di Amerika Serikat dan menjadi bagian orkestra klasik di Washington DC. Keduanya membuktikan bahwa kecintaan pada musik bisa menjembatani konflik yang ditimbulkan oleh negara asal mereka.
I just decided one day when I was 9 years old that I'm going to become a cellist, and this was the coolest thing I could do with my life.
Valeria Sholokova, pemain cello 31 tahun asal Ukraina, pindah ke Amerika 20 tahun lalu. Meski demikian, negara asalnya selalu di hati.
There's nothing like watching your home burn down. I felt horrible for the next few days, just shattered. And everything hurt. I mean, it was grief.
Ayah, kerabat, dan teman-temannya masih berada di Ukraina. Ia pun kerap menangis saat menyaksikan kondisi terakhir di sana. Di tengah itu semua, salah seorang teman menghubunginya.
He reached out to me first. It was a very genuine, touching message. Just saying that, that he's heartbroken and that he's with and he feels my grief.
Ia adalah Nikita Morozov, pemain biola asal Rusia yang besar di Montreal, Kanada. Ia dan Valeria kerap manggung bersama dan telah berteman sejak bersama sekolah di The Juilliard School di New York 10 tahun lalu.
I love playing with Nikita, and playing with Nikita reminds me the best of what music is about, and it's mostly a feeling of connection and feeling like you're on the same wave with somebody.
I think it's really important to use discernment and to find, what is the source of the problem, which is Putin. And it is not the Russians, because there are so many Russians who are against this war.
Persahabatannya dengan Nikita membantu Valeria menghadapi cobaan ini. Asal-usul Nikita tidak penting.
Well, I think it's humanity above all else. I mean, I've never seen Nikita as a Russian violinist, and I've never seen myself necessarily as a Ukrainian cellist, and I think it's mutual.
Itu sebabnya Nikita merasa perlu mendampingi Valeria, sesuatu yang menurutnya harusnya dilakukan terhadap warga Ukraina di seluruh dunia.
I think when we go through something difficult and we're there for each other, bonds are made and connections are made, and definitely the friendship becomes stronger.
Persahabatan yang melampaui perang antar negara. Dari Washington DC, VOA.
Dari rumahnya di Madison, Alabama, Brent Morgan berhasil mendulang keuntungan dengan mencipta musik dan menggugahnya di berbagai platform online. Brent berbagai tips memonetasi musik tanpa kontrak di perusahaan rekaman, dan kisahnya melampaui masalah kesehatan yang sempat melumpuhkan kegiatannya.
I care too much. The stereotypical dream for a musician is you move to Nashville, you walk into a label, you sit in the lobby, you sing your amazing song, they're like, we want to sign you, and they pull you up. Kind of like Taylor Swift did, where they would go to every single label every week with her dad. It's just not true. Moving to Nashville just triples your cost of living, and you play in the bars downtown for tips only. I used to play the bar scene, I used to play gigs all the time. Afraid my paper skin has started wearing thin. And then I realized I could play in my shorts at home on a live stream and make, 5 times as much money and have way more fun interacting with way more people. You have to build a fan base online, and they will push you to success with your music. So this is my studio. I even remember when I was about to propose to my wife, I had to go talk to her parents and say, I'm going to do music for a living, and it was terrifying.
Luckily, I had just won $100,000 from Petco.
Waking up in the morning to my two best friends.
I entered this contest and wrote a jingle for them about rescue animals, and I won $100,000. It was $50,000 for me and $50,000 for the shelter that I rescued my dog from.
That's when I started realizing, this is how you monetize it. I got to where I was writing probably 4 to 5 jingles a week.
Got a place to be, but you ain't got time.
It was great money. I was very excited. There was a lot of news publications about it. But eventually I started realizing I was losing the ability to write longer songs, which is my passion. And so I just stopped. I completely stopped writing jingles for almost 2 years.
Heartbreak away from a horrible place.
There's so many different ways to make money and to make a living using music. Mine being YouTube streams, Spotify, Apple Music streams, and all of the different streaming sites. I also live stream my music to my fans on a daily basis on an app called YouNow. You can make $10,000 to $15,000 a month.
Keep my hands to myself now.
Being there for an entire month to work on 1.5 minutes of one song that you're going to sing on TV was so overwhelming. I started noticing my voice was not recovering at all. It was very weird. It was swelling. My throat was swelling up. I started going to doctors, and nobody could figure out. I had to cancel all gigs that I was doing. I couldn't go back to the voice. I ended up finding out it was a thing called muscle tension dysphonia. Your brain stops telling your vocal cords to relax. So if I get hit in my shoulder, my vocal cords close up. I've been doing treatment now and doing allergy shots and different things, and my voice is improving literally weekly. Starting this road to recovery, it changed my perspective completely, and now I'm even more grateful for music, and I do it even more than I was before I had the issue. You might end up seeing me on the show again because they're wanting to do this road to redemption, and I'm just waiting till I feel confident enough to go back.
Lebih dari 150 tahun dihapusnya perbudakan lewat Amandemen 13. Survei Pew Research 2019 menyimpulkan 4 dari 10 warga Amerika Serikat yakin warisan perbudakan dan rasisme tetap ada. Sebagai upaya meningkatkan toleransi, seorang perempuan di Virginia mengedukasi generasi muda tentang sejarah warga kulit hitam dengan mainan dan multimedia.
Juneteenth merupakan hari besar nasional terbaru di Amerika yang tahun lalu disahkan. Singkatan dari June 19th atau 19 Juni, Juneteenth merayakan ditandatanganinya proklamasi emansipasi oleh Presiden Abraham Lincoln tahun 1865 yang mengakhiri perbudakan di Amerika Serikat.
It's a celebration of the emancipation of African Americans who were enslaved, but it's also a day of remembrance. But I'm eager to see how it is recognized, how it is celebrated, how it is used as a tool of education for people, and how it can ultimately bring us more in line with what the hope of emancipation was, which is freedom for everybody.
Namun nyatanya tidak semua orang di Amerika memahami pentingnya edukasi sejarah warga kulit hitam di negara ini. Di tengah mencuatnya insiden berdasar rasisme yang tidak jarang diwarnai kekerasan, pendidikan tentang sejarah warga keturunan Afrika dan kulit berwarna lainnya diharapkan bisa meningkatkan toleransi dan rasa saling menghargai di tengah perbedaan. Salah satu yang berupaya meningkatkan kesadaran akan pentingnya edukasi tersebut adalah Tiffany Lang. Melalui perusahaan Bevy and Dave yang didirikan 2015, Tiffany mengajar ke anak prasekolah dan siswa sekolah dasar. Bevy and Dave memusatkan pengajaran pada sosok Carter G. Woodson, penggagas Black History Month.
He was born in 1875 and he actually passed away in 1950. But during his time, he completely devoted himself to studying Black history and making sure that the world would have this information. That's why he created Black History Week back in 1926, and then it expanded to Black History Month in 1976. It wasn't just about publishing and getting the books out there. He literally went straight to the teachers, and he would make books for them to use in the classroom to teach the children, and he would have questions at the end to make sure they understood the lesson. And he also created other things like the Negro History Bulletin that would go out once a month to teachers for people to have to learn more detail about what they didn't know. And so what I loved about him, he was not only brave and courageous, but he understood that it took just one person to make a difference.
Church Terrell was an educator.
Selain lewat presentasi audiovisual, Bevy and Dave juga menawarkan alat bantu pengajaran seperti games, puzzle, dan mainan balok. Beberapa di antaranya menang penghargaan produk pendidikan terbaik tahun 2018. Tiffany berharap anak-anak terinspirasi untuk belajar lebih jauh tentang sejarah warga kulit hitam di Amerika di luar kurikulum yang mereka dapat di sekolah. Dari Woodbridge, Virginia, VOA.
Beralih ke berita selanjutnya, pemirsa, Ghana adalah salah satu importir pakaian bekas terbesar di dunia. Padahal mayoritas baju bekas itu tidak layak pakai. Seorang pengusaha setempat memanfaatkan limbah tekstil itu untuk memproduksi sepatu. Dan hal ini bisa menjadi model ekonomi sirkuler yang ramah lingkungan.
Peter Anoui adalah inovator fashion berkelanjutan yang memanfaatkan limbah tekstil dan menggunakan karet dari ban mobil untuk membuat sepatu. Menurut Peter, sepatu berkelanjutan buatannya mengandung sekitar 75 hingga 100% bahan daur ulang.
So a typical 100% recycled shoes from Coleco is made out of discarded jeans, woolen fabric, and used car ties. So the discarded jeans mostly is the outer part of the shoe, what we mostly see in the shoe. And also the woolen fabric is what we use in lining our shoes. And the sole is made out of this discarded or used car ties to make the shoe more durable and very lasting.
Peter mendapatkan limbah tekstil dari rumah tangga dan pasar baju bekas. Ghana memiliki pasar pakaian bekas terbesar di Afrika Barat dan juga adalah importir tekstil terbesar kedua setelah Pakistan. Setiap minggu sekitar 15 juta pakaian bekas dari Eropa dan Amerika Serikat dikirim ke Ghana. Tapi 40% dari barang-barang ini tidak layak pakai dan merusak lingkungan karena mengandung bahan kimia dan plastik beracun. Dan kain yang dibuang akan menghasilkan limbah padat berbahaya menurut seorang pejabat lingkungan.
What is left is being thrown elsewhere, so it ends up in our drains. So in our bid to desilt these drains and whatever, we got to realize that the plastics complementing these fabrics is the result of what? The flooding we've been having within the metro.
Sementara Peter memperingatkan air minum di Ghana terancam oleh pewarna dan bahan kimia dari pakaian bekas.
According to Rachel, textiles waste is really taking over the world, and if we don't stand out and do something more sustainable to bring this menace down, in some years to come we wouldn't even have good drinking water.
Industri tekstil Ghana tumbuh pesat selama bertahun-tahun dan juga menghasilkan limbah yang sebagian besar dibuang ke tempat pembuangan sampah. Menurut pakar industri, meski Ghana membuat kemajuan berarti ke arah fashion berkelanjutan, tapi perlu peningkatan kesadaran mengenai hal ini.
Then fashion industry, that's the designers, those who even create the fashion items should be educated on sustainable fashion from the beginning. Then we move on to the consumers who consume these products.
Riset industri menunjukkan Ghana bisa menjadi pemimpin ekonomi sirkuler bagi tekstil karena adanya ketersediaan angkatan kerja yang besar dan banyaknya jumlah pakaian bekas. Dan kini kesempatan terbuka bagi para pengusaha seperti Peter Anowi untuk memimpin jalan menuju transformasi yang berkelanjutan. Dari Arlington, Virginia, saya Helmi Yohanes dan tim VOA.
Pemirsa, Bicycle Heaven adalah surganya para penggemar sepeda. Terdapat lebih dari 6.000 sepeda dari berbagai zaman termasuk koleksi sepeda langka. Berikut beritanya untuk Anda.
Mulai dari sepeda di tahun 1800-an, sepeda yang dibuat untuk film, cikal bakal BMX modern, sepeda tercepat di dunia, dan ribuan sepeda unik lainnya ada di sini.
There's over 6,000 now.
Wow. Berada di kota Pittsburgh, negara bagian Pennsylvania, salah satu tempat yang wajib dikunjungi adalah Bicycle Heaven. Museum, toko, dan bengkel sepeda yang dibuka sejak tahun 2011. Pemiliknya adalah Craig Morrow, memulai koleksinya 35 tahun yang lalu dengan sepeda yang ia dapatkan dari tempat barang rongsokan.
I fixed it up for a kid in the neighborhood, and then the next kid, and the next kid, and then we were donating bikes and whatever. But I always liked the antiques and old bikes. I had a bike when I was a kid, and that's what I wanted. Okay. That's how it started, yeah.
Berbagai sepeda langka ada di sini. Di antaranya sepeda karya seorang industrial designer dan perancang mobil sport asal Inggris, Benjamin Bowden, yang diberi nama Bowden Spacelanders. Harga sepeda ini bisa mencapai puluhan ribu dolar Amerika.
So which one do you think is the most famous bicycle that you have here?
Well, some of the most famous bikes we have are like this bike here. This is the Pee Wee Herman bike, and it's a world famous bicycle. It's probably one of the best bike movies that were ever put out with Pee Wee Herman, who was Paul Rubin. And they made, I think it was 12 of these bikes. There's only 4 known. I have one, the Bike Museum of America has one, and Pee Wee Herman has 2 of them.
How did you get this from
I bought it from another collector. Yeah, we investigated it and were able to get it.
Terkadang Craig harus berburu sepeda ke luar negeri untuk melengkapi koleksinya. Craig juga pernah mendonasikan sepeda anak-anak ke Indonesia.
When I first started out, I would end up with like hundreds of bicycles, and mostly kids' bikes, some adult bikes. And I met up with a guy who they actually shipped them over to Indonesia.
Banyak hal baru yang bisa dipelajari dan dinikmati di Bicycle Heaven.
There was like some like old bikes, like 1800 style bikes that was like really cool. Cause like bikes I guess been around for quite a long time. So to see like kind of how far they've come and like it's really, really cool.
There's always something to look at no matter where you go.
Dan untuk bernostalgia,
it's fantastic. Every room you go in, you find something new. And like I said, I've been looking at these bikes and I point out ones that I had when I was a little kid and ones I wanted to have but never got around to getting. Bring back memories, the red ones.
Dari kota Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, saya Irfan Isan dan Ronan Zakaria, 5K VOA.
Pemirsa, dengan sejumlah lagu seperti New York serta tari tradisional Betawi dan Bali, tim Muhibah Angklung menarik perhatian turis dan warga kota New York. Grup seni asal Bandung ini tampil di Times Square sebagai awal dari sejumlah penampilan lainnya di berbagai kota di Amerika Serikat.
Angklung pun menggoyang Times Square, pusat hiburan dan tujuan wisata di Manhattan dengan New York, New York. Salah satu lagu terkenal mengenai kota yang tak pernah tidur ini. Berbagai lagu terkenal dibawakan tim Muhibah Angklung, kelompok anak-anak muda yang mencintai angklung dari Bandung. Tim Muhibah Angklung berada di Amerika untuk hadir di 2 festival, Magic Valley Fall Festival di Burley, Idaho, dan World Folk Fest di Springfield, Utah. New York adalah kota pertama di Amerika yang mereka kunjungi.
Ini kota gede banget gitu ya. Dan kita main di Times Square tuh kayak mimpi aja gitu. Kayak ini kita main di salah satu pusat dunia gitu ya. Dan kita bisa perform di sini tuh bangganya sudah tidak bisa diluluskan dengan kata-kata mungkin gitu sih.
Pertunjukan angklung pertama di lokasi bergengsi ini juga dimeriahkan dengan berbagai tari tradisional Indonesia. Dan juga paduan suara.
I thought it was very great and it was a lovely experience for me. Being from New York, I'm used to different cultures and some melting pots, so it was a very great experience to watch all the performances and the costumes and everything. It was all wonderful.
Warga Amerika ini bahkan ingin mengunjungi Indonesia setelah menyaksikan penampilan tim Muhibah Angklung.
Dengan kehadiran tim Muhibah Angklung ini kita harapkan akan semakin dapat membuat warga Amerika Serikat itu lebih paham tentang Indonesia, dan kalau sudah memahami Indonesia, kita harapkan bisa mengunjungi Indonesia.
Setelah New York, tim Muhibah Angklung akan tampil di Smithsonian, Washington DC. Dari Times Square, New York, Andira Inaya dan Nia Iman Santoso, VOA.